Let's talk about something that catches almost every California seller by surprise. Closing costs. Not the quiet, vague idea of closing costs. I'm talking about the real numbers, the real fees and the real deductions, and the real math that actually determines how much money you walk away with after selling your home. Because if you're thinking you're going to sell your home, for example, let's say $800,000, and you're expecting that $800,000 to show up in your bank account, you're in for a shock. The number you list your home for is not the number you net, and most sellers don't learn this until escrow sends them a final sheet, and suddenly the excitement turns into confusion, panic, or frustration. So today, I'm going to walk you through in the simplest way possible exactly what California closing costs look like for sellers, what they include, how they work, which fees are required, which fees are negotiable, and how you can actually reduce some of these costs when you sell. Because you deserve to know exactly where the dollar is going before you list your home, not after you're already under contract. If we haven't met yet, my name is Rima Rafeh with the Rafeh Group here with eXp Realty. My job is to make sure that California sellers are informed, protected, and financially prepared throughout the entire selling process, especially when it comes to the number one question homeowners has: how much I'm actually going to walk away with. So let's break this down clearly, calmly, and step by step. So at the end of this video, you will understand closing costs better than most agents. When you sell a home in California, there are three major financial categories you need to understand: the cost you must pay because they are required, the cost that depends on your situation, and the costs that are optional or negotiable. Most sellers mix all three together and assume everything is mandatory, and that is simply not true. So what are closing costs? Closing costs are all the fees, services, taxes, legal requirements involved in transferring ownership of your home to a new buyer. These costs are deducted from your sale proceeds. You don't pay them upfront, but they come out of your net closing statement. And in California, we use Escrow as a third party. It's an escrow companies and title companies to handle this process. They manage the paperwork, the legal documents, the loan instructions, the title transfer, and all the financial pieces. And yes, you pay for that part of service as well. Let's talk about the first and one of the biggest closing cost categories is the agent commissions. This is usually the largest deduction on your closing costs, and it's important to know commissions are not set by law, they are negotiable. But in California, the seller typically pays the listing agent and also contributes the buyer's agent compensation depending on the agreement signed and the arrangement made by the buyer and the seller. This is usually the biggest shock for sellers, where compensation rules are shifting. So the key here is clarity. When you sign a listing agreement, you should know exactly what you've agreed to in terms of commissions and compensations. Now let's move on to escrow fees. In Los Angeles County, Santa Clarita, and in California in general, escrow is an independent third-party service that manages your entire closing. And here's something many sellers don't understand. Escrow fees are not fixed. They vary based on the escrow company and the purchase price of the home. Some counties split escrow fees between buyer and seller, others don't. But no matter what, sellers always have some portion of escrow charges. Then we have title insurance, which protects the buyer, the lender, and you for any future claims or legal challenges against the property. This is super common in California. The buyer usually pays for the lender's title policy. Title insurance sounds boring, but it's one of the most important protections in real estate. Without it, the sale cannot close. Now let's talk about the surprising one: county transfer taxes. This is the fee the county charges when we transfer ownership of your home. And depending on the county and sometimes the city, these taxes differ dramatically. For example, Los Angeles County charges a standard transfer tax fee, but the city of Los Angeles has additional mansions taxes or enhanced transfer fees depending on the sale price. Other cities like Santa Monica, Culver City, and Pasadena also have their own fees layered on top. This is why sometimes you see two sellers with the same home price can have very different closing costs depending on their city. Now we move on to the natural hazard disclosure fees and the required reports. In California, sellers must provide proper disclosures sellers about flood zones, fire zones, earthquake zones, or any natural hazard risks. These reports come from third-party companies and that requires seller's cost. From there, we get into payoff amounts, and this is where many sellers forget something huge. Your mortgage payoff is not the same as your mortgage balance. When you pay off your mortgage, including your escrow, you may owe interest up to the date of closing, daily interest charges, recording fees, and sometimes a lender processing fee. It is small, but it really adds up. If you have a second loan like HELOC, solar loan, HERO program, PACE program, or tax lien, all of these must be paid off in escrow as well prior to closing. This is where a lot of sellers are shocked because they forget that the payoff amount can be higher than expected. Now let's talk about home warranties. In California, it's not required, but many buyers request a seller-provided home warranty as part of their offer. This is a one-year protection plan that covers basic system and appliances for the buyer. Some sellers choose to offer it upfront to make their home more attractive. Others only offer it when the buyer asks. It's not mandatory, but it's extremely common. Next, we have prorated taxes. This is another one that surprises sellers. Property taxes in California are paid in installments, and depending on when your home closes, you may owe your share of taxes for the portion of the year you lived in the home. Even if you already paid your tax bill, escrow does a final calculation to ensure everything is balanced between the buyer and the seller. Then we have HOA fees. If your property is part of an association, this can include HOA documents fees, transfer fees, certification fees, demand statements, and prorated HOA dues. HOA paperwork alone can cost hundreds of dollars, and it's typically the sellers who pays for it. Another cost sellers don't always expect is pest clearance or termite inspections. In many areas in California, buyers or lenders may request a termite report or clearance. Whether you're required to pay for the repairs depends on negotiation, but the report itself is often part of the seller's responsibility. So let me pause here and tell you something important. None of this meant to scare you. It's meant to prepare you. Sellers are often surprised by closing costs, not because the fees are extreme, but because no one explained to them clearly from the beginning. But once you understand them, closing costs no longer feel mysterious. They become predictable part of the selling process. Now let's talk about something crucial: credits and concessions. This is not technically a closing cost, but impacts your final net. Sometimes buyers ask for closing cost credits. Sometimes they need rate buy-downs, sometimes they need to fix repairs after inspections, or sometimes they ask for credit instead of repair. All these gets deducted from your final proceeds. And yes, whether you agree to these concessions or not can dramatically change how much money you walk away with. This is why choosing the right offer is more important than choosing the highest offer. Sometimes a slightly lower offer with clean terms nets you more money than a high offer full of demands. And finally, the number everyone cares about, your final seller net sheet. This document shows your expected profit after all closing costs, all loans, all fees, and all adjustments. And this is why I always tell sellers, don't judge your sale by the list price. Judge it by your net. Your net is the only numbers that matters. So, selling a home in California comes with real cost, but none of them have to be scary and unexpected or confusing if you are prepared. The smartest sellers are the ones who understand the math upfront, not at the end. And that's exactly what I do for my clients. Break everything down clearly, step by step, so there are no surprises. If you want your own personalized net sheet showing exactly how much you walk away with if you sold today, comment net below or message me privately. I'll create a full breakdown tailored to your home, your mortgage, your county, and your timeline. I'm Rima Rafeh with the Rafeh Group. I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because every California homeowner deserves clarity before they sell. And see you on the next one.